Boston Bruins have a lot to think about and a lot of moves ahead of themselves for Game 3 of the playoffs after the injury to Andrew Peeke is going to be keeping him out week to week. Now, this is going to be a big update that many things are going to be changing over the next few games that we're going to be discussing here in this video, as well as the real reason that this team did lose in yesterday's game, in Game 2 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So make sure to stick around, find out what I got here in this video. Before we get into all of this, though, we noticed that 81% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Boston Bruins news throughout these playoffs, as well as heading into the offseason, you're in the right spot. Make sure to hit the sub button. Join me along here as we cover videos and live streams ahead and during and after all of these upcoming playoff games. I'll keep you updated with everything this team has to offer. But let's get straight into this very brutal news, to say the least, that Andrew Peeke is out for what we know right now is week to week, and major changes will be coming to this defense regardless of what they decide to do. And this is just a very big breakdown here from Michael Sullivan. It says, Peeke is week to week. If I was Montgomery, I'd look at the D pairings going forward as Grzelcyk, McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo, Wotherspoon, Shattenkirk, and Lohrei as an extra. If you want to switch Lohrei and Grzelcyk, that's fine too. Grzelcyk has moved the puck well, but gets beaten physically. So let's start off here. Brutal news that Andrew Peeke is out week to week. He's been a guy here on this team that I really liked since the trade deadline. He's been one of the guys on this team who I knew was going to be a great addition when they got him. He's been there to get the games going. You know, he hasn't missed a regular season game for the Columbus Blue Jackets in, I believe, 2 to 3 years. So the Bruins knew his durability, his stamina was there, and he could go as long as possible. And this injury really sucks and leaves a major hole on this defense, which we've seen at the end of the game, or after he left the game against the Maple Leafs yesterday. So that's one thing that's going to have to be fixed. And Michael Sullivan here proposed Wotherspoon and Shattenkirk pairing. Now, Wotherspoon is the next guy in line. That's one thing that I think we all established. One thing we all would like to see is Wotherspoon get back into this lineup. He's been very good this season and has definitely deserved a playoff spot. Now, I've seen many people also talk about Matt Grzelcyk and Mason Lohrei and Kevin Shattenkirk and whatnot. I've seen all three of those guys' names be in the mix of what should happen between those three. Matt Grzelcyk definitely would be an option to be taken out of this lineup if they do want to put Mason Lohrei in, after now being the next man up after Parker Wotherspoon, has entered this lineup. And Matt Grzelcyk will be a hard guy to remove just because of what we know with his dad being part of the arena team and whatnot, and that whole situation. But Matt Grzelcyk, I think, is definitely an option to be taken out. Now, I have another one I've seen from many people, but this Bruins Network tweet was the best one that I've seen, lined up for what everybody was talking about. And this is what they have to say here. If I'm Montgomery, it's Shattenkirk out, with Lohrei placing him and Wotherspoon for Peeke as a 1-for-1 swap for roles. Say what you want about Lohrei being green on defense, his offense, breakout, transitions, and power play skill set is worth the risk, reward, and potential, in my opinion. And I'm also in agreement with this. This is one thing that I think that Mason Lohrei will certainly help this team with, is the offense. We know how good the Toronto Maple Leafs offense has been, how good their goaltending was last game, I'm going to say. We know that Samsonov's not the best goalie, so as much offense as this Bruins team can generate, they need more. You know, they need more if they're going to do what they did last game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, not play their best, not want it as much as the Maple Leafs did, especially with the goal scorers that they have, the offensive talent. I think the Bruins need to step up their offense if they want to compete and stay locked in on defense to really get what they want out of this series. You know, there's a lot more pressure on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're going to want it more to face those demons they faced over the past few seasons. But I do think whatever combination of the defense they choose to use over the time here, this will be a better decision that will be noticed in practice today, ahead of the game, next game, and whatnot, and probably a few more moves over the rest of this series, depending on what happens next game. But another update here regarding the defense is from Connor Ryan. Jim Montgomery said Derek Forbort will travel to Toronto, but likely isn't an option for Game 3, and he's day-to-day. And this is one thing the Bruins have been very good at this season, is getting the depth at every point on this team. We have a lot of depth on forward, a lot of depth on defense, skimming down a bit now with Andrew Peeke, but having Derek Forbort and Mason Lohrei both going to be in Toronto, ready to suit up if need be, for Derek Forbort, not next game, but the game after. Hopefully, the depth is going to be a lot better now that, even though Andrew Peeke is gone, the Bruins still have themselves put in a very good spot for the depth, for the injuries and everything, assuming that someone would have gotten hurt or if someone had gotten hurt in these playoffs. So, again, I do expect maybe Mason Lohrei to make a debut here in the playoffs. I would really like to see it. I think that it's going to be a move the Bruins are going to need to do eventually if they do want to increase this offense. And either way, I think something will have to change on that defense, especially with the week-to-week injury to Andrew Peeke. But I have one final update here regarding what could happen over these next few games in this series. I do apologize for how horrible this quality of the tweet is, but Justin Brazeau has resumed skating at practice once again. He's been skating lately, but he was at practice today. Not sure, I didn't see anything if he was taking line rushes or not. I don't think so. So he's still, I wouldn't say available in Game 3, but hopefully he's going to be in the same boat as Derek Forbort, available later on in this series, and this is going to be a huge move if he is, and will need to be in this lineup as soon as possible. But let's move on to the real reason, the truth, why this team, the Bruins, lost in Game 2, because the Bruins just didn't want it. Let's be honest, the Bruins seemed to not want it here as much as the Toronto Maple Leafs did in this game, and as much as it hurts to say, the Leafs did play way better. None of this was on Linus Ullmark. Linus Ullmark played very well. The game would have been blown out of the water if it was either any other goalie apart from Linus Ullmark or Jeremy Swayman, but we've seen a lot of issues with this, and this is what Jim Montgomery had to say about this. I'm not going to read all this, but this is what he said. Now, in fairness, he was answering the question in accordance to the manner in which it was posed, the question, but he goes on to say it was a lack of urgency. He walked in the room carrying a lack of urgency under each arm, but no matter, he was asked, he answered, and then, yeah, it was really a very easily seen thing that the Bruins had here, especially after the too many men penalty. There was a lot of penalties in this game the Bruins need to be vigilant of, not take and not fall into the Leafs game as the Leafs did to the Bruins in Game 1. So they need to clean it up a bit, and especially not expect that they're going to win every game. You have to expect that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to come out here and wipe the floor with you. You have to give everything you have, because this team, this Maple Leafs team, can and will win this series if they continue to play like this with the lack of urgency, thinking that they have it in the bag no matter what, and just going to depend on your goalie, because that's really going to be an issue if that continues here in this series. I also have the game stats I wanted to pull up here as well. The 10 penalty minutes the Bruins had here, a lot of penalties were some that they didn't really need. They had two too many men penalties and one on Brandon Carlo, which should not have been a penalty at all, and that really took the wind out of the sails of the Bruins. And I think what they need to do and what they need to clean up is just their how much they care, how much the urgency they're giving to this. They need to be on it at every point throughout this game, acknowledging that this game could fall out of their hands at any moment, especially with any team that is left in these playoffs. All of these teams here are very, very good and easily can take a game away from you in the blink of an eye. So I'm expecting a whole different Bruins team again here in Game 3. Maybe similar to Game 1, but also a few changes, like I said, on the defense from what we're going to see with Andrew Peeke, but as well as mindfulness ahead of this game and going into it, knowing that this Maple Leafs team is very dangerous. So let me know what you think about these moves here that are going to be seen on the defensive side. Maybe some moves on offense. Let me know if you think there should be any there, but the defense is definitely going to have at least one replacing Andrew Peeke, but some big games ahead for this team. Especially Game 3, you want to go up 2-1 while in Toronto. And I will be live streaming likely, not guaranteed yet, but you'll see on a community post if I am going to be live streaming ahead of Game 3. Just kind of taking a look at what we know, what we're going to see, a little pregame analysis. But yeah, stick around for that. Make sure if you're going to hit the sub button, you tune into that. A lot of fun stuff was going on in the first one, and it was very nice. So that's all I got. Like I said, I'm signing out here. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you give it a like. Make sure to hit the sub button as well if you don't want to miss out on any of the Boston Bruins news. But like I said, that's all I got. I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.